Okay, so today I'm going to show you a rack that will completely change the way you look at what samples that you want to use for your tracks, and will also open you up to different samples that you might not have used before within your tracks, now knowing that they can work with other samples. And if you like this rack, then be sure to check out the other useful racks at AM Studios. But let's dive straight into this and show you exactly how it works. So what I've got here is I've loaded on a drum rack. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to load in a load of samples. So here's all my kicks from the 909 kicks, and I'm going to drag these to one of the pads. Now, usually when you go to drag them, it will separate them onto different pads. But now I'm going to, instead of doing this, I'm going to select Option and Command and drop it on to this one cell here. Now what's happened is all of these samples have gone onto this one pad, right? So what I want to do next is I want to go to Chain, and I want to hit select these, Command All. I want to drag these out, and I want to right click and go Distribute Evenly. Right, so what we then need to do is I want to click this little macro button here, and I want to also open up this one. And what I'm going to do is on this pad here, so make sure I'm clicked on this pad, I'm going to select Map, and I'm going to select this little chain selector here. Click that, and I'm going to map it to macro 1. Right, so that's now mapped to there. Now, you can't just hit map from this to there, I don't believe. So the way I do it is I right-click this, and then I go map to macro 1. So this now, if just rename it, is my kicks. Right, so I'm just going to do a few more. Let's rename this as well. Rename kicks. Right, okay. So now I've got my kick pad here. Let's just close that mapping off for a moment, and let's go in and add some claps. So I'm just going to go in here. These are the AM Studios Trance claps if you want to check them out. Same thing again, drag across, hold Option Command. If you're on PC, it might be slightly different, but I'm on a Mac. Let go. Right, so now I'm on this pad. Let's rename this while we're here. Claps. Right, now we want to go into the chain. And same thing again, select all of these, and we want to drag them all across. We want to go right click, Distribute Evenly. Then again, we want to open up this, and we want to go map. We want to map this to, we can map it to macro 1 here, because this is a new pad. And then what I want to do is map, right click, map to macro 2. Right, so now when I do this, we're getting different claps each time. So let's quickly rename this. Claps. Right, okay. Just yellow. Right, okay, cool. So next thing I want to do, let's add some bass samples in. Oh, remove the map section there. Let's go in and add some basses. So bass hits. Just going to go to bass hits A. So I'm going to select all of these bass hits, and I'm going to do the same thing again. Drag them to here. Option Command, click, right, rename, bass hits. Right, okay. So same thing again, just so you can get the gist of this. Select all of them. Right click, distribute evenly. Now we want to open up this, and we want to go map, and we want to map this chain selector again to macro 1, and then we get macro 1 mapped to macro 3. So here we go. Right, so let's just rename this, and let's go bass. Give it a color. Right, cool. So what I'm going to do now is going to load in a few more samples, so you don't have to go through every single one, and then I'll show you where this becomes really, really useful. Right, okay, so all I've just done there is I've just added in some hi-hats as well. So I've got my kick, clap, bass hits, and hats. Right, so now what I want to do is I want to come into my MIDI section here, and I want to draw in some patterns. So 4/4 kicks. I'll do this from scratch so you can see. So we're just going to go kick, 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 clap on every other, and then open hats. Let's just do like this. Obviously, you can change this around. Right. So when I play this now, so what this is now doing, it's got a different, for every piece of, every pad, for example, sorry, not piece, every pad, it's got kicks, claps, bass hits and hats. Now, when I come into here and start selecting random from these are going to select different kicks, claps, bass, and hi-hats every time. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go in and show every single option that you can do. This is just to open your eyes to what you can do. You could have in snares, you could have acid hits, whatever you want to do. But when I start pressing random now, you can start to see which samples work together. Now, obviously, this isn't mixed perfectly, but for example, you know, if you click this little here, this chain, we can start to level things up. Now, this isn't to create a perfect mix off the bat. It's to find out which samples you like that work. So again, so for example, you might think that kick and that bass works, for example. So we could go kick and bass. Right, but the hat doesn't work, for example. So you might go, you might want to change the basses so you can just flick through, or you can just keep hitting random until you find something that you really like. And then obviously level them up. Now, from here, you can, if you want to, in each individual chain, add in your processing and use this MIDI when you're starting to arrange your track, and obviously remove the sections that you don't want. For example, if you didn't want hi-hats in a particular section, you just remove them. Or the other option that you have is that you can just go into each of the chain selectors and see which of the samples it is that you like and that are working together. You can go back to your sample pack, grab them, and go back to the old way. But I just think this is a really cool way to find new samples that you might not have necessarily used before, to see what works with others. Because I know for a fact that I sometimes go through a sample pack and I'm like, oh, I like kick 10, and I like clap whatever, and I use them. But this is a great way to sort of use those samples that you haven't necessarily always used, that can work and give you your tracks a whole new sort of sound just from using different samples, especially with stuff like kicks and stuff where they can sometimes set the tone for the whole track. So yeah, be sure to check it out. And you can hear as well that there's a lot of different sort of like variation in them. You know, I've used bass hits from my bass hit sample pack. You can load in your own bass hits. You could grab them. You could load in different style kicks. I've just shown you the very simple format of how this kind of works. And then obviously you can save this rack. Next time you go to start a track, lost for ideas. Right, let's whip up this rack and see which sort of samples work. I hope you've enjoyed the video. As I say, be sure to check out the other Ableton racks at allanmorrowstudios.com. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.